coming to get you, Barbara.
Here's some money. Go see a Star War.
But I'm trying, Ringo. I'm trying real hard to be the shepherd.
Welcome back to Long Walk Talks. My name is David Hensley. I'm the owner and creative director of Long Walk Productions, and I am joined today, as always, by my two co-hosts, Stan Wilson Lee.
Hello.
And Chris Wilson Barnes.
Oh my God, Bear is podcasting. How can this be?
And today we are going to be continuing our View Askewniverse discussion with the animated series Clerks the Cartoon. I reversed that with the cartoon series Clerks the Animated Series.
You're doing great.
I am. We are almost to the finish line with our Kevin Smith View Askewniverse coverage. And so far, this has been my favorite one. I don't know about the two of you.
As in Smith? No, this is why I lobbied so hard for it to be included.
Yeah.
It's probably... I think this is the first thing I watched of his that I connected to the hardest.
Yeah, I can see that. And, well, that kicks us right into the discussion because my first discussion topic is this Kevin Smith's medium? Does this work for him? Does animation, like 22-minute episodes, work better for his style of humor than live-action film? Stan, what do you think?
I mean, yeah. I mean, it's a great medium for him because his hyper-realness can be really evident in the cartoon and in the animated genre because, I mean, he can go as far as he wants, you know, and he has time to do it, especially in a series format. He has time to do it, and it's since his movies are fairly cartoony, you know, even though they're live action, it's like at least for Jay and Silent Bob, you know, very, very animated characters, very cartoony characters anyway. So to put them in a situation where they can be real and where they're actually, it's probably more their medium than, you know, Kevin Smith particularly, but for Jay and Silent Bob. And especially, I mean, it seems like it's really good for the Randall and Dante characters as well. So
what about
Handel?
Randall.
Chris,
what do you think? Is animation more of Kevin Smith's medium than film?
Honestly, yeah, that's what I was thinking after I finished rewatching it. Is like it works super well for him to have that format, and especially to have a writer's room. Like if you check the credits, Paul Dini helped him with this, like coming off of the Batman episode, this series.
Yeah,
it was like, and I think they were able to tighten up a lot of stuff that, especially because you see all the stuff that he loved doing in his earlier movies, but now it's not, I don't want to say streamlined, but it's now it's added in a way where when it pops up, it feels better to me.
Yeah. I agree.
Yeah.
I think he should be making more cartoons and more network cartoons like this because so much of his material in his films relied so much on the potty humor, like as we've talked about, the frequent dick and fart jokes and all of the swearing. And this cartoon really goes to show that you can take away a lot of those things, and he is still very funny.
I think that really helps in a way because a lot of times, a lot of things can become even better than you think when you have a creative idea like that, and then you have to work within parameters. Because then the creative exercise becomes, how do you still make the thing you want to make within those parameters?
Yeah, and it becomes, how do we take our two characters who are explicitly drug dealers...
They're definitely not drug dealers.
...and put that into a cartoon. They sell...
You guys want to buy some fireworks?
Exactly. I had forgotten about that until I watched that first episode, and I was like, oh, right, they couldn't be drug dealers on ABC.
Also, to Stan's point, it's worth noting this is technically slightly out of order because this was made before he did Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back.
Right.
It was like the project he did right before.
So I imagine that of everything that people know about Kevin Smith and the View Askew universe, this is probably the thing that people have seen the least or know the least about. So we're going to go over the history and the episodes themselves real quick. This premiered in 2000.
May 31st, 2000.
Yep. And it premiered hilariously out of order because of the 6 episodes that were produced by ABC or for ABC.
Yeah, if you want to do the network viewing order, what you want to do is find these episodes, watch episode 4, then episode 2, and then nothing else.
Yeah, of the 6 episodes that were produced, ABC aired 2 of them, and that was it, and they were out of order.
There is a reason. You can figure it out if you know. Well, one, if you listen to the commentary, and 2, if you just look at the timing. Because displaying my age, I watched it when it premiered. I watched the first 2 weeks, and when week 3 rolled around, it disappeared. And that is because this was the time when they were also getting rolling with Who Wants to Be a Millionaire. And that was a ratings juggernaut. So they were like, this Clerks cartoon, whatever. Let's devote more time to Who Wants to Be a Millionaire. Yeah, and
Kevin Smith has talked about how rewarding it was to hear Regis Philbin say, and up next, Clerks. So I'm going to recap. Well, we'll recap the episodes real quick. And I say we because I'm going to need help with this. Despite the fact that I just watched them over the last 2 nights.
I will say...
This is not a show that relies heavily on structure or continuity. No. You could mix and match so many of the elements of this episodes and they would still work.
And I will say it was a fast watch. It really was, and especially because I think that also was this Kevin Smith's advantage.
Yeah.
In making an animated series, he also tightened up his stuff, because left to his own devices, as funny as a lot of the things he does can be, he really loves working a gag to the death.
Yeah, which is especially funny considering the other cartoon megalomaniac that gets referenced in this cartoon who loves to beat a joke into the ground. So help me out with this as we go. Episode 1 introduces Dante and Randall and Jay and Silent Bob in their cartoon form, along with their brand new antagonist, Leonardo.
Well, as denoted by the title, which was another one of the many. Because I mean, if you watch these episodes, you learn how quickly, how much Kevin Smith loves running gags. Because each episode, if there was one thing that was continuity in the show, it was the running gags. Starting with the titles, which got progressively longer and longer. Leonardo returns, and Dante has an important decision to make.
So Leonardo, voiced by Alec Baldwin, but based on Alan Rickman.
Well, yeah, because I think you found out probably too. Is like I looked it up, and it's like Alan Rickman was originally gonna be Leonardo. So they immediately went and made the character look like Hans Gruber,
which he wasn't happy about. So they kept redesigning the character, and by the time they landed on something, he was out. So they got Alec Baldwin and just went back to
Gruber,
the Hans Gruber look.
Which Alex Baldwin plays him perfectly.
Oh, yeah.
I love it.
Leonardo's plan is to gradually take over the world, starting in New Jersey by erecting a Quicker Mart.
Quicker Stop.
Quicker Start. A quicker stop.
Stop quicker.
5 months of discussing the View Askew universe has melted my brain.
Has viewed askewed us.
Yes. And hijinks ensue.
Yes.
And
literally hijinks.
This is the introduction of one of, I think the joke that gets referenced the absolute most throughout the show, which is the climbing up the side of the building.
Yes, they do the old Adam West Batman climbing up, and then while they're doing it, a flower pot falls beside them, and they just go, why are we doing this?
Yeah, the camera tilts so that you see that they're actually walking on a flat surface normally, except they're not normally, they're standing like they're climbing, and Dante just stops and looks down and goes, why are we walking like this?
And this, I mean, what's really good about the episode is it really helps establish how the characters are going to be going forward, because you've got Dante, who's basically like he's the straight man for everybody, and then you've got Randall, who he's been toned down in his misanthropy somewhat, so he's more Oh,
He's more fucking with Dante than fucking with everybody else.
yeah, he is very much he just loves poking at Dante. And,
Yeah, there's the vitriolic best buds cliche.
Yeah.
And then there's Randall's relationship with Dante in this cartoon, in which he is outright antagonistic.
Yeah.
We'll get there more in a little bit,
When
but
you get
it
to
gets
Quark.
ridiculous.
it's very much he's very much a Daffy Duck character in that
That's good.
Yeah.
in that it alternates between clever maliciousness and stupidity.
Yeah.
Because they love and Jay Jay and Silent Bob are still consistent with their characterization, but now Jay and Randall are both like two sides of the same dumb coin.
Yeah. So episode 2 is a clip show, despite being the second
Which
episode.
is actually a very funny thing.
It is. All of the clips that they play in their flashbacks just come from the first episode.
Oh, and one of my favorite running gags, which the first episode had one of my favorite running gags, which was previously on Clerks, and it cuts to a test pattern.
Yes. So Dante and Randall find themselves trapped in the freezer at the quick stop after they install a new security door, and they flash back to other times that they got trapped inside of things and places.
How did we get out of the freezer the last two times?
Another one of my favorite gags that gets introduced in this episode is I'm Dante, and I'm the biggest idiot ever. In all of Randall's recollection of these events, Dante is always wearing his underwear and swinging a cat around his head.
The best part is the second one, which has one of my favorite lines of it, which is, even though I remembered who opened the door, I'm still the biggest idiot ever. And then it cuts back, and it's revealed Randall is actively telling Dante that part, that he
Yes.
thinks that Dante's the biggest idiot ever, because he goes, stop that.
So episode 3...
Episode 2's title, The Clip
that's
Show,
right.
wherein Dante and Randall are locked in the freezer and remember some of the great moments in their lives. And before we jump away from it, we also should point out, they get locked in the freezer, then they get out. Then they get locked in the video because the key breaks off in the handle. Which leads to a very dark joke. I know you mentioned some other ones when we were talking about topics.
Oh, the Flintstones list?
Well, there's that one, which actually has one of the best setups ever. It was like, we're not going to watch that. Hey, remember the time we watched that? And also, when they go into the video store after being locked in the freezer, and the lady at the front of the line goes, my baby's been home by herself since this morning. After the lock breaks off and they try to get help to get out, Randall yells, hello? Lady with the dead baby? Oh, and then he goes to turn on the AC and it snaps off and they start freezing in there too.
Yes. Leading to them, at the end of the episode, getting trapped at the hockey rink, which has a waist-high
Yes.
fence that they could easily have just climbed over. So, episode 3, give us the title.
Episode 3. Leonardo is caught in the grip of an outbreak of Randall's imagination, and Patrick Swayze either does or doesn't work in the new pet store.
Yes.
Patrick Swayze, voiced by
Gilbert.
Patrick Swayze.
it's Gilbert Gottfried.
Yes.
No, I think that's Patrick Swayze.
Yeah. We'll show you a Patrick Swayze movie at some point, bud.
In the commentary, they talk about how they tried to get Patrick Swayze to do it, so when he wouldn't, they just went and got Gilbert Gottfried.
I can't blame them.
And it's wonderful. It really is wonderful.
It is. So Leonardo eats a disgusting burrito that has been left out in the sun all day and gets
He's got
sick.
a box of them because Randall didn't.
Yeah. And gets sick. So Randall blames it on the deadly Mataba virus spread by the monkey in the pet store down the street.
The new pet store.
In the new pet store, and thinks that it's just like the movie Outbreak. So the Quick Stop ends up getting quarantined. Now, I said that Randall is outright antagonistic towards Dante in the series.
This is one of my favorite lines ever.
He busts in on the guys from the CDC who have quarantined the Quick Stop and asks them if they've burned Dante alive yet.
Have you started burning the bodies yet? I hope I didn't miss the pyre, especially if Dante.
Hi.
Dante, you're alive. Thank God.
Something you and I both quote to this day.
Oh, yes.
Oh, Chris, you're alive. Thank God.
Thank God.
It's amazing how much of this series stuck with me.
Yes, same. And often I will say a quote and then only afterwards remember, oh, right, that's where that's from. So episode 4, this is where I'm going to, despite watching these last night, episode 4 was the courtroom one.
Yes, and I understand why they led with this one. This one is a really strong. A dissertation on the American justice system by people who have never been inside a courtroom, let alone know anything about the law, but have seen way too many legal thrillers.
Yes. Jay slips and falls on a spill on the floor of the Quick Stop. Randall accidentally gives him the idea of suing Dante for $10 million.
$10 million.
Not accidentally.
No. A lawyer comes in. He's like, what are you gonna go do? Find a lawyer and sue the Quick Stop? And he's like, maybe I will. And then a lawyer comes in,
refuses to take the case. So Randall antagonizes him for a full day and night,
including chasing him down on the freeway. Dante's driving, by the way.
Going to his home in New York and standing outside with an angry mob demanding that the lawyer take the case against Dante. Again, Randall is the worst friend in the world.
Or the best.
No.
So they go to court, and for some reason, Randall, despite getting Dante into the situation, Randall defends him, then uses their time in court to call all of his least favorite directors to the stand to demand his money back for their movies.
My favorite part of the director's commentary from that is it was too late to add it, but someone told him after the fact, Kevin Smith should have put himself in there giving back money for mall rats.
Yeah, and depending on who you talk to, maybe also Chasing Amy. Leading to the end of the episode, where instead of resolving the situation, the ending to the episode got lost on its way to the South Korean animators, resulting in a weird anime fever dream.
The animators
of an
finished the episode, quote unquote, and it just becomes a wild just ending.
Yeah.
My favorite subplot of the entire show is Dante's jury is made up entirely of NBA All-Stars, including Charles Barkley.
Yes, who is a recurring guest in all 6 episodes.
Because they have short little like Saturday morning cartoon like little end segments, and the running gag up until the courtroom episode is Charles Barkley keeps showing up, and they just keep chasing him off.
So this came out in 2000. It's been a full 21 years, or it will be on May 31st. And because of this show and the gag at the end of this episode, I cannot watch anything Transformers related where somebody is in one of the cars and it transforms with them in the car. Because at the end of this sequence, like when it goes off the rails and turns into this anime sequence, a Transformer runs up, turns into a car, and a bunch of people get into it. At the end of the sequence, you see the car pull up, transform back into a robot, and then blood just starts pouring out of it. And I cannot watch anything Transformers related where people get into a Transformer without thinking of that now. 21 years that joke's stuck with me.
And I love the jury thing, not only because it leads to a very racist moment with Randall, but every time it cuts to the basketball players, they're talking about the minor conveniences they get as jury members, and they love it. It's like, we got $5 for breakfast. I hope this trial never ends.
Well, no, I won't bury the lead on that one. So number 5 has the longest title of them all.
Oh, God. Yes. Dante and Randall and Jay and Silent Bob and a bunch of new characters in Lando take part in a whole bunch of movie parodies, including but not exclusive to The Bad News Bears, The Last Starfighter, Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom, plus a high school reunion.
Exactly. All of that. I don't feel like I don't need to describe the episode because that's it right there in the title.
It's basically it. It starts with a high school reunion, dovetails into the Bad News Bears, then leads from simultaneously with The Last Starfighter, then leads into the Indiana Jones parody at the end. Yeah.
This episode has to be seen to believe. It has to be seen to be believed. Words, I know how to use them. And it's just bonkers.
It is, but it works. It does work.
It does, and you don't expect it to.
No.
I honestly don't know how to describe this episode. If you want to seek this out, I highly recommend it.
I do too. It's kind of hard to find because it's out of print, but wherever you can find it online, I would watch it. Basically, Dante and Randall go to their high school reunions, which are actually. Let me jump back real quick. The Courtroom episode has one of the meanest jokes I've ever seen, because since the NBA All-Stars don't show up, they have the women from the WNBA come out.
Yes, and
the
people
crowd
start booing them. And they
cry.
start crying on the court. Yes.
And then he goes, we now return to Will and Grace.
Oh. So they go to their high school reunion. Dante somehow gets talked into coaching a Little League team, while Randall finds his...
an arcade game that used to be in the cafeteria.
A cabinet arcade game that is secretly a test for a megalomaniac who wants to build pyramids.
Yes.
So while Dante is coaching Little League, a la the Bad News Bears, Randall is building a pyramid.
Randall is forced into slavery to build pyramids.
Yeah, he's forced into slavery, which that turns it from The Last Starfighter into Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom.
Because Dante's team starts winning because Jay is on the team since he never graduated from 4th grade.
Yes, and is technically still enrolled in the 4th grade.
Yes. So, because they start winning, they end up at the home of the Little League World Champions, who just so happen to be the kids who are stolen by the thuggy who showed up in New Jersey and took the kids. So the team goes in to rescue them, and they run into Randall, and they free everybody.
And now, finally, episode 6, which is called...
The last episode ever.
Yes, which starts with Dante and Randall attending a convention in which people are complaining that Clerks the cartoon is nothing like Clerks the movie. So they decide that they're going to make the cartoon more like the movie, which results in a bottle episode of Dante and Randall not leaving the Quick Stop. Now, normally, bottle episodes are reserved because a TV show needs to reserve money for later in the season, or they've already blown all their budget.
And cartoons do it plenty, too. Saves money.
Yeah. So you don't see it as much in cartoons, though, because all the backgrounds are animated. The characters could literally be anywhere.
Right.
But they still chose to make this episode of the cartoon a bottle episode to be more in tune with the movie, since they never really leave the Quick Stop.
Yeah, I remember the commentary saying they anticipated Backlash, and then so that's why they did this episode.
And it is just Dante and Randall inside the Quick Stop one night as there's a fair going on outside, and increasingly ridiculous things start happening. Up to and including, at one point it's mentioned that Caitlin Bree, Dante's ex-girlfriend from the movie Clerks, has started making out with a Ferris wheel. That is probably my favorite throwaway joke of that episode, is just that Caitlin has started making out with a Ferris wheel.
This is the president. Can you still see me pee?
Yes. This one is also just sheer insanity.
It is literally, and the end of the episode is a big homage to Duck Amuck, if you've ever seen that cartoon.
So with all of that said, Stan, what was your favorite episode?
Oh, wow. Probably... I really did love the first one with the whole Quicker Mart stuff and the introduction of Leonardo, but I probably like the Courtroom, the court episode. I really did enjoy that. I really enjoyed 4, 5, and 6, the episodes together as a whole, except I was falling asleep during 6, so I missed parts of the Duck Amuck, but I knew what it was referencing, but I also... And 6 would be the most like Clerks, or what we know as Kevin Smith stuff. You know, it was definitely and it was where Jay actually did all his gay jokes. And
not all of them. There's a lot of.
But no, what I'm saying in reference kicks into high gear in that episode.
In reference to the fact that he makes the jokes, but he's also. The lady doth protest too much.
Yeah.
And it's showing the progression of Jay as a character finding his...
This is a good time to point out to our listeners that if you've never seen this show and you want to go and seek it out somehow, this is very much a product of its time. There are a lot of gay jokes, and
again, you know, that's Smith too.
It is Smith. I mean, at that time, that was
in the first episode got away with Randall calling someone a mo.
Yes,
yeah,
because they didn't know what that meant.
No, and also are a lot of uses of the word fag as a cigarette originally before it gets carried on outside of the cigarette context. Let me put it like that.
The bit is entirely tailored around the idea of how Brits use the word fag to mean cigarettes to get away with using the word.
But I only bring it up is because it's totally a comment on them being commented by in the idea that Jay may be or could be in the whole relationship with Silent Bob and stuff and he's accepting it. He's doing the protest, but as the episode goes on, he becomes more and more accepting. Oh, that's happening. Let's go back. Oh, that's happening, and it's really disgusting. Let's go back. So the idea that they're coming to terms with what they've been accused of doing or whatever. But no, the court episode was really funny to me, even though it was probably Randall's most atrocious hatred of Dante or attacks on Dante, even though he was defending his friend. It was the most backhanded compliments ever.
Your Honor, anyone who passes the bar in Virginia can be a lawyer.
Exactly. This isn't Virginia.
You haven't passed the bar, and we're relatively sure this isn't Virginia.
And who was the judge? Judge Reinhold.
Yes, none other than Judge Reinhold.
So that means we would have stolen the joke? Is that what we would have done if we did that?
No, not necessarily. In our unproduced legal comedy that I wrote and we still haven't done, the judge's name is Judge Ryan Holt.
Ryan Holt.
Thank you.
but
there's a reason that legal comedy remains unproduced.
But the original episode, because again, it was like a lot of stuff that, oh wow, that was surprising. I'm going to enjoy this. There was a lot of enjoyment in the first episode and Alec Baldwin, you said this earlier, Alec Baldwin's really, really great as Leonardo. And I really love that character. It's such a Scooby-Doo villain. And he totally just embraces it. And
plus, after the first episode, he's not used heavily. He pops up. No. He pops up here and there to move plot
and
along.
His henchman.
Plug,
who's a publicist.
He gave Rob Zimmerman a car.
Yes.
He's a publicist, but Leonardo believes he's a henchman.
Yeah, well, he's modeled to look after Oddjob.
Yes.
Well, he look like Oddjob from Goldfinger.
Yes.
Chris, what about you? What is your favorite episode?
It's hard to pick a favorite because there's gold in every episode, at least for me. Like in the last episode ever, that might be my least favorite because it's most like the movie. Not to say I don't like the movie, but I like the fact that the Clerks cartoon is, because it's a cartoon, they do leave the store and they have weird adventures outside of the store. I like that. That's the whole point of cartoons and animation to me. So the idea that they would cram them back into a store and it's an animated series was least appealing. But Jay has two of the best line deliveries in that episode, which is, "Dude, she's cheating on you," and "Hey, I think somebody keyed your car." But I think my favorite episode, it might be a split between 3, 4, and 5. Because they just,
oh wow,
yeah.
Because when they get the most outrageous,
and that's when they really hit their stride.
Yeah. Five is especially fun because they pack so much into it.
Yeah, that's
that you don't have time to catch a lot of the really hard, like the stuff at first.
That's why I was struggling to describe the episode or to give a synopsis without just describing beat for beat what happens in the episode.
Like you mentioned one of the darkest jokes they make because it explains they have the opening, the high school reunion is a combination of the classes of 70, 80, and 90, with Dante and Randall being in the class of 90, and Leonardo being in class of 70, and it's combined because the class of 80 had grad night in orbit.
Yeah, so I'll just go ahead and say real quick before we move into that bag of worms, my favorite episode, like Stan, it's also 4 just because of how wacky it is. But yeah, let's move into some of the holy shit, I can't believe they did that in a cartoon moment.
And Kevin Smith is very much in that camp too when he talks about it on commentary. He's like, how did we get this approved?
How the fuck? Now, this was concurrent with Family Guy. I think Family Guy was like on its first season, but even they hadn't.
Because they must have made this in 98 and 99 for it to premiere in 2000. So Family Guy had been running for at least a season or two.
Yeah. And this was still very early South Park as well.
Yes.
This would have been around season 4 of South Park.
South Park premiered in 97.
Yeah, before we got into cartoons really pushing the limit of what they could get away with. This show was ahead of the fucking curve.
Yes.
Because in episode 2, like we already talked about, Flintstones List, a parody of Schindler's List with Flintstones characters.
When they aired the episode, they did not air the actual clip. They just aired the sound of it.
And as Chris said, in the high school reunion episode,
a Challenger joke.
They inserted a Challenger joke because the class of 1980 blew up on their way to space.
And they show that.
Now, Flintstones got a wow out of me.
Yeah.
The Challenger joke got a little bit of a jaw drop out of me.
And in the same episode...
In the same episode, while talking about Randall, one of their old classmates shows Dante a picture, and in it, it's the... I have a hard time calling this a classic photo, but...
It's an infamous photo.
An infamous photo of a prisoner, a Vietnamese prisoner in Saigon being executed by an American soldier, point blank, being shot in the head. If you've never seen the photo, I don't recommend you go and look at it because it's haunting. But in the episode,
the guy was pointing out how easy it is to fake yearbook photos, and it's a photo of Randall as best hall monitor. Yes,
so the American soldier executing the prisoner in the photo has been replaced with Randall, and the caption is best hall monitor. And I was like, holy fuck.
It's one of those things, like if you were watching it, if it aired and you watched it, it would move by really quick before, so you'd have to be like, wait, what?
I've watched this show several times before, and I have never caught that joke before.
Oh, man. Yeah.
And I there was something, I mean, and because it was such an integral and it didn't just go by, but at the end of the episode when they beat the kids in the ball game,
it's so
because they're
great.
Half dead.
They're malnourished and they're dead tired. You're right. And they're like, oh, it's going to take so much time for them to heal. And then Dante's like, you're forgetting something though, Miss Mayor. What's that? Play ball. Play ball. They proceed to play the kids anyway.
Yes.
That to me, what I think I
just say nothing of drinking baby fine liquors.
Drinking baby fine liquors. But when they were playing these half dead children, and they hadn't changed them out of their digging gear,
and the parents are in the stands crying.
See, every once in a while, something will come by that genuinely shocks me in something. And once that moment hits, everything after that, I'm just like, all right. So by the time we got to the malnourished children being forced to play baseball, after we got the Randall best hall monitor joke, I was just like, all right, but here's a horrible thing that's happening.
But see, you only got like a glimpse of that, but then you got a whole sequence, like 2.5, 3 minutes of
a bunch of dying kids being forced to play baseball.
Forced to play baseball, and then
Jay and Silent Bob distract some of the kids by roasting a whole chicken on a spit.
Yes, Jay's team is cheering. We won.
Yeah. Oh no, they're like, yeah.
And it was a valid legal win, and that's what cracked me up and shocked me.
Number 5 might be just the ballsiest episode, because that also has the subplot of Randall finding out at the reunion and throughout the show that he is so terrible as a lover to women that he immediately turns women lesbian.
But was it that as a lover, or was it because he kept getting distracted by? Well, it video was game.
Just every aspect of his personality is apparently enough to repulse women off of men forever. Because
even the Chinese lady, the geisha girls. Yeah, that was really funny. I'm sorry, but
the girl at the reunion when he finds the video game and he starts ignoring her to the point where she gets hit on by a lesbian and she just woes off. And she's
I can't believe I'm saying this, but yeah, I do.
The best of those jokes, though, of just how incredibly dense Randall really is in this show
Yes.
is when the three geishas are throwing themselves at
Oh, yeah,
him,
yeah.
and he, instead of hooking up with any of them, asks them instead to go and get him some porn.
Porn magazines stacked the yay high.
And as they're leaving, he specifies Asian porn because he loves Asian women.
Yeah.
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 Yeah. So,
Also the kid in the helmet.
yeah.
Oh my!
We finally got to see the kid in the helmet. So that was the extent of my discussion topics because it's just such a quick watch and it's not exactly dense. So I asked these guys to throw out ideas. And one of the ones that you brought up, Chris, is this worth rebooting? So Stan, let's kick it over to you. Do you think it's worth rebooting Clerks, the animated series?
Is it being rebooted?
No, not currently.
Oh,
There was talk of making an animated sequel to Clerks years ago that was dead in the water, and now especially so because either ABC or the Weinsteins or both own the rights.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm not sure about this particular, but maybe if he animates something else of his, it's
Actually,
like,
he has. He's put out a Jay and Silent Bob animated movie.
oh, okay.
Really?
I told you about this one where they win a bunch of money, so they decide to be superheroes. It's kind of like just like an hour long thing. But
I have never heard of this.
I mean, I don't know if anything more is needed. I don't know if it should be Clerks. If there is something, maybe another, unless it's going to be like Clerks 3 or something like that, or because I mean he went on to do Clerks 2, so it's like the story continues and has another final, so it's like if I think do another animation, yeah, sure.
I can agree with that because that would be the preferred way of seeing Clerks 3. There are just certain characters that you don't want to see get old. We were making this joke today about in a few years we're going to be on like Mission Impossible 12 and Tom Cruise is going to be 90 years old playing Ethan Hunt in a wheelchair, like wheeling himself off of a mountain. I don't think Clerks 2 was the closest I want to come to seeing middle-aged Dante and Randall. I do not want to see the two of them in their 50s. I just don't. But if we got an animated Clerks 3 in which they could just be ageless and timeless, I'd be okay with that.
Oh, yeah, no, I asked the question because my answer is yes. I want it to be rebooted. I want it to, if they can't call it Clerks, then whatever, call it View Askew. Because I want it to still be that show.
Okay.
And then I want them to also just, whenever he feels like it, or it can be, add to a funny episode, add in the other stuff from the other View Askew stuff, bring in those characters, have them show up. Because guess what? You're right. Them getting old live action is going to suck, but voices can sound fine forever.
Unless you're Jason Mewes.
Has he smoked that day? All right. Because
there was a moment that I think could be really fun. Kevin's with the whole Judge Reinhold, Beverly Hills Cop
dream sequence. Yeah.
Dream sequence. Yeah. I thought that was really, really well done, and the whole Axel doing the bananas and the so stuff like that, and going, and then like you said, Chris, with the making it part of the Clerks universe, but having stuff like that getting dropped in. And so forth. Yeah, I really like that kind of sequence.
A continuity cavalcade.
Because here's the thing, like Ben Affleck and Matt Damon can't always show up in person,
right.
But they can record lines and send them in.
Right.
And you know what? Yeah, and he can find a place, especially now with streaming, that he can be more risque if he wants. I don't think that works in his favor always, but sure, let him say the F-bomb a few times.
Yeah.
And then just drop it in. I would say get as many of the original people back as possible.
Yeah.
And then just go forward, and it's like keep it focused on Dante and Randall. I honestly think that, and then and it would be great. I think it would be great.
I agree, and if it's not Clerks, then I would like to see it be something original.
Sure.
From Smith, because I'll tell you what I absolutely don't want or think we need is a cartoon about T.S. and
Brody. Oh no.
We don't need a cartoon about Banky and Holden.
No.
We do not need a cartoon about Bartleby and Loki.
No, but them showing up would be great.
Yeah.
Like showing up in bits and pushing along whatever plot is going, or showing up for a few gags even.
Yeah.
Because speaking of surprise voices, this is before he really blew up, but Bryan Cranston is the lead agent who recruits Randall.
Who apparently, while he was in the studio, was talking to Smith about how excited he was about this little sitcom he was going to be starring in next, which turned out to be Malcolm in the Middle.
And I mean, yeah, and you can tell, I mean, plenty of people had fun. Like Charles Barkley did all that extra stuff, because he has a relatively minor part in the episode he's featured in, but then he just kept... what was it? Oh, episode 5. He shows up in episode 5 at the end as a Force ghost and goes high five, and no one and everyone ignores him.
Turns
like in the
away.
Inside. And he goes, and you hear Charles Barkley say, "That's cold, Obi-Wan."
That's cool. And James Woods shows up as the CDC.
Yep. That's great.
Agent. Really funny.
Their whole
James
last day on
Woods.
Earth is just absolutely hilarious.
And then when does you had told me that Brian Posehn shows up again in 6? I must have been
the guy
dozing.
asking questions at the Comic-Con. And when will Ellen be guesting on your very gay show?
Yes, that's right. Okay. And then the two characters, Dave George.
Steve Dave.
Steve Dave and his buddy King, show up, and that was really cool.
It's the two of the kids in the hall. They voiced the Pinheads, Mark McKinney, and
that was another.
I'm looking at the cast list, but I don't know what I'm looking for.
The two giggling girls, I thought was one of the greatest devices I've ever seen. It was, and when they show up in court, that cracked me the fuck
That was apparently a reference to the fact that Smith originally envisioned Clerks being like a surrealistic horror film before it became a very weird comedy. Michael McKean shows up as a voice in a couple of episodes.
He's the guy who ends up leading the cult Ram, and he is also the village elder straight from Indiana Jones.
Yes,
who talks about the thuggy.
Gwyneth Paltrow appears as herself.
That was her. Yes,
which I thought was one of the weirdest cameos from somebody who takes himself.
Which is funny because Matt Damon's cameo is wordless.
Yes.
The montage of them meeting celebrities is great, especially because it ends with people looking off the side going, "Hey, it's Ted Danson. It's Ted Danson." And Dante goes, "Hey, it's Ted Danson." And they throw something at him.
Wow. Frank Welker played Bill Clinton in the last episode.
Did.
But that was actually Lisa Spoonhour voicing Caitlin in the last episode. I did not realize that because I didn't sound like her.
Hey, Dante, I want to take you dress shopping and do other emasculating activities with you.
Yeah. So that is Clerks the cartoon. Like we said, it's rather difficult to find. Now, I did...
another terribly risque thing. One of the Science Says thing. Well, not Science Says, but with the Rainy Day Activities short they do at the end of the episode with the disappearing quarter, and they offer the girl's soul to Satan to make it.
The first 3 episodes contain like PSAs featuring Jay and Silent Bob at the end, and then they cut those jokes off after the third one. Now, the other night while we were waiting to record This Is Work with David Two Dogs Hayes, I actually found a streaming service. Well, not a service. I found a website. Well, let's just put it that way, where you can watch these episodes. It was very slow, and one of the episodes got hung up in the middle. You can find just about anything out there.
And I'm pretty sure if you search as hard as you can on YouTube, someone's put it up. It's got to be up there, maybe even in bits, because I know when people re-upload cartoons, they have to cut them in bits to avoid being caught. But I think this one might have a better chance of finding most of it because it suffers from the dogma problem, because like you said, ABC and Miramax own it, so Kevin Smith is probably not going to be able to do much with it.
Now, if you want to obtain this by legal means, the only way that I could find, other than like going on eBay and finding the DVDs from the early aughts, what used to be iTunes, Apple TV has all of the episodes for $1.99 each.
That's not bad.
It's not. For $12, I think it's worth every penny.
Yeah, I think so too.
So
yeah, and you can. I mean, people have it up on eBay. There, you have to look for people who don't have it up for ridiculous prices. If you're paying above $20 for this, you're paying too much.
Yeah. So that's my thoughts. Out of everything in the View Askew universe so far, this is the most highly recommended from me. Would you guys agree?
Yeah, I think so. And it's funny how he took stuff from this going forward. Like I mentioned in the group chat, Like at the end of the flashback episode, they do a Stand By Me epilogue. And Dante's epilogue is he's married now. Randall's epilogue, he owns the video store now. And it's like,
But what about Skeeter?
Oh, he was drafted and killed in Vietnam.
Yes. As somebody online pointed out, the whole thing about that gag is actually Old Man Jay writing a book in the future. Again, the Stand By Me reference. And somebody's pointed out that is extra sweet now, considering that Jason Mewes actually has a child.
Yeah.
Which, if you'd asked me 10 years ago whether Jason Mewes ever needed a child, I would have said hell no. But now that he has cleaned up his act, and I'm going to be very interested to see what that child is like when they grow up.
Yes, but it's also, and this is future, but for Jay and Silent Bob reboot, you know, that's a key thing in the movie. So him being a father, you know. So,
and spoiler alert, in that movie, his daughter is played by Kevin Smith's daughter. So with that said, we've got 2 entries left in the View Askew universe. So is it it's got to be next week. Holy shit. Where's this year gone? Next week, we are going to be discussing Clerks 2, and then we're going to be wrapping up the View Askew universe in June by talking about Jay and Silent Bob Reboot.
I don't know about Reboot, but I will have a lot of good things to say about Clerks 2.
I'm very interested to see how my opinions change on those two, because I thought very highly of Clerks 2 when it came out. Mm-hmm. But then again, I thought very highly of all of the Kevin Smith films I'd seen when I saw them. So it'll be interested. It came out in 2007. So 14 years ago, we'll see how my opinion of it has changed. And then I just watched Reboot last year, so I don't know how much my opinions are going to change on that one. And then in July, we're going to be moving on with moving on into our Christopher Nolan discussion, which I'm really looking forward to. So just earlier this week, we released the WrestleMania Backlash episode of This Is a Work. And then coming up in June, we've got another NXT takeover that will be hosted by Shelby Ray Patterson and Gina Belmont. And then what's the pay-per-view that's coming up, the WWE pay-per-view in June?
Hell in a Cell.
That's right.
And before that, it'll be AEW's Double or Nothing.
That's right. That is also not this weekend, but next. Mm-hmm. So we're really going to be cranking out episodes. And also,
we're going to be cranking it.
Yeah. And also, Katie and I at some point need to sit down and record a couple of Long Walk Teeny Talks. So, Stan, if people want to reach out to you online and you're not social media distancing, where can they find you at?
I guess I'm on Facebook. I don't have the Graham Instant, or I don't have the Tweeter Twit.
He's doing it on purpose. Don't fall into the trap, Dave.
Okay,
the
all
Tweeter
right.
Twit. I don't have any of that.
For a hot second there, I couldn't tell the Graham Instant.
That's my
God.
stage name.
Graham Instant.
But
welcome to the stage, Graham Insta.
I am available on Facebook. You know, I may not respond or anything, but
the subtext there is good luck finding me, fuckers. Chris, if people want to reach out to you online and you're not going to direct them to the Twitters of David Two Dogs Hayes or the This Is a Work podcast, where would they find you? I know. I preemptively killed it.
No, because I was actually just going to go, I'm on Twitter at Chris the OK, and just leave it at that.
Oh, okay. Well then.
Tweeter twat.
And if you want to follow me online, the best place to do that is on Instagram at DB Hensley. To keep up with the Long Walk Productions, you can go to our website, longwalk.us, or you can look us up on Facebook, facebook.com/longwalkpro, to see more of our original content and hear our backlog of episodes. There are links to our YouTube channels in the show notes. And as always, if you enjoy this show, please make sure to leave a rating and a review on whatever platform you are listening on.
Peace out.
That's the ugliest damn bong I've ever seen.